Hello and welcome to the Ambiguous Blanket podcast. I'm joined today by three people. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Who's going first?
You usually.
Hi, I'm
first.
Simon.
All right, man. AK Musket.
Oh.
You missed out your
Yeah,
AKA.
he missed out his nickname.
Got an AKA. Let's do it again. Go on,
Yeah.
what's your AKA, Simon?
AKA The Machine.
Well, the Great White.
Oh, shit. Yeah, okay, The
Oh,
Great
go on,
White.
2 AKAs. You know, why not?
Yeah, you've
What
got
did we
two.
work out mine was?
Yours was Crafty, because you like craft
Crafty,
beer. Yeah, so you've got yours as well. And our special guest.
I'm Hamish, AKA just a really cool guy.
So there we have it. We're going to be talking about something special this time, about escape sessions. Probably something that you don't know about, but we're going to be talking about it.
Yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coming. Well, we've
Coming soon.
been doing it, but now it's the new improved version.
Escape Sessions 2.0.
Yeah.
The professional version.
Yeah. So yeah, basically we're hoping to release it. Well, start
I think
pushing
we
stuff
agreed
out.
the 18th, didn't we?
18th
Yeah,
Feb.
we're hoping that kind of time, and yeah, basically it's just about we're doing music sessions, so we're getting bands in, and we're filming them, and Hamish is recording them in his studio, so we film all in the studio and stuff, and yeah. Do you
So
wanna-
before we get into that, has anyone got anything exciting
Oh, yeah, of
to
course,
talk
yeah.
about?
well, I've cut my hair. I decided to shave all my hair off, not like a Viking, even
To
though
be fair, yeah,
this
you've gone
is
full techno Viking.
yeah. Even though no one knows what I
It's-
look like really, because it's
It's
a
Viking, the
podcast.
TV show, isn't it? That's what it
Yeah,
is. It's
has
that
any
style.
of you guys seen Vikings?
No,
No.
but I have seen techno Viking.
Oh my god, I
You
know
look
what
a
you
bit
mean.
like Techno Viking.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen techno Viking?
I've seen
No.
Techno Viking.
Oh my god, it was like the most old school like internet meme before memes were a thing, and it's basically this like big Norwegian dude with his top off, and he's like stacked, and he's just there's like loads of people in the street, and they're just dancing to techno, and he's literally just walking down the street, like,
Yeah.
That rings
In
a
front.
bell.
and it
yeah.
literally
yeah.
looks just like him,
Yeah,
but
I-
it's blonde hair because he's Norwegian, not brown hair.
Yeah, and I'm not as hench, I'm a bit
and
fat.
that,
I was
So-
told I've got to tell people that Lindsay cut your hair.
Yeah, I tell him
Yeah.
every time my sister cut my hair, yeah.
Your sister cuts hair.
Yeah. Well, she doesn't cut hair,
Oh,
she just cut my hair.
Cut your hair.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
I think you look a bit like a horse, though.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going for, the braided thing.
To be fair,
the longer it goes, the more we look like a horse.
And
Majestic.
I know about horses, given that my girlfriend is a semi-professional horse rider. So
Oh my God.
I can agree that you do look a bit like a horse.
So you can say Viking, but we all know.
Yeah, but you're going to
yeah.
say majestic horse.
But then it depends on how you turn it, because like BoJack Horseman's pretty cool, so I wouldn't mind looking like. Do you watch
Oh, is
BoJack
that the
Horseman?
cartoon
Yeah, mate.
thing? Yeah.
Best cartoon ever made.
I've seen bits of it. I've not watched
Great.
it properly.
It's
but
like a
it's got
really
some-
sad interpretation of real life. It's so accurate. It's like God, it's good.
Yeah, that's it really about me and in what I've been up to. That's all my excitement.
What about you, Adam?
I've been editing Escape Sessions,
There you go.
Oh yeah, ready for the launch.
keeping it on brand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
What about you, Hamish? I mean, you set up your studio a bit different to what
I
we
did.
used to see him.
Yeah, I mean, when I opened the studio, I was definitely short on. I mean, I'm still short on funds. Let's not lie. But I've got a few more pounds than I did 2 years ago. So I've bought myself an actual set of shelves for my amplifiers instead of one that I built out of some scrap wood. And I've made myself quite a nice oak rack unit, which is
oak.
slightly nicer, and it's on wheels, so I can shift it around.
Yeah.
So my workflow is better. And aside from that, my chin's healing.
Oh yeah.
Smashed open my chin 2 weeks ago, fell off my bike, had 6 stitches in my chin,
Yeah. That's.
and I bruised my teeth. Did you know you could bruise your teeth?
No,
your
I
actual teeth?
The actual, not the gun.
The tooth, the actual inside of my tooth is bruised. Who knew?
Yeah. Oh, they
Well-
didn't go purple, did they?
No, but there's so you have like blood flow
Yeah.
into your
Yeah.
teeth. And I mean, I didn't know that. You all say that like, oh yeah.
Well, that's common knowledge, mate.
We've always got bruised teeth.
Anyway, I've bruised my teeth, so I can't eat solid foods. But
This-
we're getting,
did it not?
this is
Did
gonna
it not crack?
No,
teeth?
there's no fracture.
It just bruised.
It's
That
just
is
really
so
bruised.
weird.
This
You're
is-
on the NutriBlends, then, are you?
I am, porridge, NutriBullet stuff, and soup. A lot of soup.
Healthy
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, oh yeah, good stuff.
This is going to turn into the dentistry podcast.
Yeah.
Because a week ago or a couple of weeks ago, I spent 10 minutes talking about my teeth as well.
On the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Actually, I
but-
forgot about that. Yeah, you went to see
Adam
the
had a
dentist.
weird flirty thing with his dentist.
What? So did I.
Yeah.
Oh my god, let's hear your flirty thing.
Well, I say that. I don't know how flirty it was. I didn't flirt back because I found it quite intense.
Was
But,
yours
like,
a female?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. His was male.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Obviously.
I mean, it's 2018. That's totally fine.
Oh yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
No, it was like okay. So I'll be honest. I'll admit I've not been to the dentist in about 4.5 years, which is really bad because normally I'm quite hot on like keeping my body in check and stuff. And anyway, I went and this woman was like, I don't know, like mid-30s maybe. You know, like quite good looking, but you know, like was a dentist, so just in scrubs and stuff, and like had one of them plastic shields on her face, kind of weird.
Yeah.
But then like did all of the like normal like mirror in the mouth and pick your teeth and all that stuff, and then like when she then spoke to me afterwards was like so intense and like almost like she was looking inside my head, like just it was so weird, and I was like, I can't decide if you're like in love with me or you're trying to kill me. I couldn't figure it out, but I went with in love with me.
Did you tell her you were a rock star then? Because that usually.
Well,
does
she
it.
asked what I did.
Oh, this is going to be the same story then, because mine asked what I did.
Oh, okay. So, and the minute you say you're doing something creative or like something cool or whatever,
Whoa.
yeah, they're like, oh, that's amazing. I'm just a dentist. Which, you know, like
It's
as if that's
your
not
choice.
cool.
It's your choice to do
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
And
I was
you
like,
could,
you know, like-
you could do music stuff.
Yeah, well, this is it. You know, and I was like, oh, you know, I cycle and blah, blah, blah. And she was like, oh, you cycle professionally? I was like, no.
She's like, damn it.
No, I don't. And then she was like, well, what do you do? And I was like, and then obviously we had that conversation. What's crazy is that they try and do this whilst they've got stuff in your mouth.
This is what
This
Adam
was
said.
the exact
Yeah.
same thing as well. It's the same
I
thing.
get it. Like, you know, you obviously don't want to like sit and have an awkward sort of thing, but you are literally, your hand is in my mouth. I can't talk. So,
Although with mine, I had a 5-minute conversation before he wanted to put his fingers in my mouth.
oh, okay.
So
but then he tried to carry it
restrained
on.
from doing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then they carried it on. And
See, that's the thing. Like, she waited until she was in there, and then was like, "So what do you do?" And I was like, "Oh," and like, you know, and then afterwards we had the sort of like general catch up while she was trying to tell me about my teeth, which, to be honest, is more important to me than telling her what I do.
yeah.
But we did that anyway, and we had that conversation, and she was like, "That's amazing, it's so cool," and you know, and then that's when I decided she was in love with me.
Yeah.
So, you know. But who could blame her? I mean,
It's natural,
You
isn't
can't
it?
see me,
Yeah.
but this is a fine
They'll
figure of
be
a
able
man.
to tell. They'll be able to tell.
Anyway, I've waffled. So other than that, nothing exciting.
Yeah,
Just-
lots of dentistry stuff happening
all
at the
that.
moment.
Why don't we just do the podcast about dentists? Or you guys
They'll
go book
get
an
involved.
appointment.
Well,
with
we
you
are.
guys.
We're going to book an appointment. We're going to find
I
out
had
experience.
one this week.
Oh,
I had a
And?
dentist appointment. No flirting.
Just
Nothing,
rejection.
just a regular appointment.
Yeah, it's just cleaned my teeth and now
See,
I've got loads of
I
gaps.
had my cleaning teeth cancelled today. I was supposed to be going at like 4 o'clock this afternoon. I got a text this morning on the way and being like, "Nah, she's ill."
Oh, she's ill. Oh. Yeah, no one else can do it, can they? She's like, pencil him in for
Yeah.
another time.
Get him in when I'm not ill.
I tried to get a dentist appointment booked, but they said no.
Well, just no.
You
Your
look
teeth
at
are
you.
so bad.
Just look at you. No, I can't flirt with you.
Sorry, we don't deal
You
with
need to go
vibes.
to the
Yeah. We don't deal with horseman. Yeah. So I'm the only one then that needs to book a dentist appointment.
Yeah,
Then.
you need to,
Yeah.
then
Get
the
on
next
it.
time.
You're not even with a dentist.
That is a good point.
To be fair, I wasn't.
thrown off.
Like,
Yeah.
I
yes.
moved here like 4 and a bit years ago and didn't register, which is why I've not seen a dentist. for
Did you
4
find
and
it
a bit years.
easy? Is it all right?
Oh,
Are you on the NHS? You got
yeah,
it?
yeah. I just went to the one that my girlfriend goes to. Like, you know, she's lived here all her life, so it was easy
Yeah.
for me to be like, "Do they suck?" She was like, "Well, they're dentists."
Yeah.
Yeah, how can you tell?
So I was like, "Okay."
I tell you how you tell that they suck, because the one that I had previous to this guy that flirted with me
Didn't flirt with you.
Yeah.
Well, no, he
He's
went the
pretty-
complete
he's pretty
opposite.
horrible,
He told me I'd never kiss a girl.
That
Oh,
was
what?
horrible.
Because your teeth are... You've got
I
great
guess so,
teeth.
yeah.
What's going on?
I think he was just angry.
In a bad mood, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe he
Wow.
was flirting with you. He's like,
Yeah.
you'll never kiss
Oh,
a girl.
like
bad
Yeah,
cop,
me
good
keep
cop.
on keeping.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe he was like, "You'll never kiss a girl because you kissed me."
Well, that could be it.
I didn't.
Again, totally fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know? Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, there
Do,
you go.
do we have to keep saying it's fine? After
I feel like, you know, if you like, the thing is that people kind of, I've had a conversation a few times with people and that, you know, and like homosexuality's come up and they're just like, "But that's okay," and I'm like, yeah, of course it's okay. Like, I'm not saying anything bad about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
There's just this stigma now that people, you know,
You
like
have to-
people are out to get you. I think that's it. Like, and not anybody of a homosexual nature, but just anybody that's like, "Oh, I can have a dig at him because he's saying something about political correctness, so I'm just going to go in there and tell him. So now I've just got to a point where I'm like, it's ingrained in me to be like,
You just have to make
it's
sure.
okay.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think, like, I've never had a problem with it, and it's fine.
There was that thing about the in the news recently about that kid who did some modelling for, I don't know what shop it was, but he wore
H&M.
Was it H&M? And
Yeah,
he
you're
wore
on
like
about
the
the
monkey
cheeky little
Yes.
monkey one.
Yeah.
and did you hear about this,
I
Hamish?
did not.
People said that it was racist making him wear a monkey t-shirt. But
He was black, basically.
I was going to
Yeah.
say it was, yeah.
But then other people have said that they're racist for saying that it's racist because it
Yeah,
shouldn't
because
even
they're
be a
associating
thing.
it with a thing
yeah.
that shouldn't be a thing.
It's got no need to be a thing. So
I mean, it is. Yeah, I totally agree.
But it's the internet for you
But
as well.
that's
though.
it, isn't it?
You know,
Everybody's out to get everyone, really.
Yeah,
now,
media,
apparently, so-
get those clicks, get those views.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like we need views as well.
Yeah. So tune in, or are you already tuned in? So,
unless this is the Instagram trailer,
it could be.
we need views. Tune in, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Done.
Anyway, should we get back on
We
topic?
should
Get
talk
on
about
track,
escape sessions.
Yeah.
So basically, me and Adam started Escape Sessions. God, how long ago was it?
Must have been about 3 years ago.
Yeah, quite a while.
4
Because
years.
and we just love music, we love filming, and we were like, let's combine the two together.
It was the first thing, pretty much, that we did in filming.
Yeah, was it before our
Don't know
short?
whether it was before.
I think it was after
The wildlife
the
documentary.
wildlife documentary, because that was a quick, brief competition that we entered,
Yeah.
and we did a little short film about a toaster.
Yeah,
Why have I only hearing about this now?
well, because you wouldn't work with us if you saw it.
Yeah,
So-
we once we've met you got to know us a bit more. Now we show you the shit we've done
Then
in
we
the
can do
past.
the fun
yeah,
stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
You call it a wildlife documentary, but it's about a toaster.
Yeah,
I was
that's,
gonna say
that's what we
that's
call it. That's
Yeah,
what we call it.
but
Wildlife.
you'll understand
You don't wanna
why.
ruin
yeah.
it. No spoilers,
Yeah,
Simon.
we can't go too much
Yeah,
into
mate.
details; it'll spoil it. But yeah, we did that, and then I think we did the music thing because we have a friend who does his own music. He has his own little recording studio.
Well, it was the only person in music that we knew.
Yeah.
So obviously that was going to be the first person that we filmed.
Yeah, so we got on and filmed him, and we did it with just We did the first one we did was a single mic in a laptop in a field, recorded it that way.
I mean, that's impressive.
It came out.
Wait, hang on. Is that
all
the
right.
one that I watched? Well,
Maybe.
didn't watch?
The
Was
first
this when
ever one we
it wasn't-
did.
No, because if you filmed it, it would have been. There was a thumbnail on your YouTube of a guy
Yeah.
in a field.
That was the guy. Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
And we also used a mic on top of the camera, like a shotgun
Yeah,
mic,
yeah.
as well, just straight into the camera to do one of those, I think.
Did we really? Yeah. The
That's
worst.
somewhere though, aren't you?
Yeah. But the funniest way we tried to record some stuff is we from that competition we entered our toaster filming. We didn't win, but we got like a runner-up prize, and it was a lav mic.
Every single
yeah.
person that entered got a runner-up.
Yeah,
prize.
everyone else got a runner-up one. So we thought, let's put the lav mic on the guy, and we can record him through the lav mic and the guitar as well.
Well,
so
this was because it was in Rutland Water.
Yeah.
And the wind was just coming straight over
Yeah.
the
It was
water.
really bad.
So we were concerned that the shotgun mic on top of the camera wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
So we thought, well, we'll put a lav mic on, and maybe that'll be okay.
How bad was it?
Well,
it was awful.
the thing is, this lav mic as well isn't a proper lav mic. It doesn't plug into your camera. It plugs into your phone.
Oh, is it one of the Rode?
Yeah,
ones?
Rode
Yeah.
Smart
Yeah,
Lav.
yeah.
And we were like, Ant was updating his phone, I think, and then it just stopped working. So
Yeah.
it just crashed his phone. So then we were using my phone. And I think it was like an older version of the app, but I didn't want to update because I know that it crashes phones like it did with Ant's.
Yeah.
And but obviously because it's on your phone, and you probably we put it in the artist's pocket.
Yeah.
So you can't monitor anything. You can't see what's
so
happening.
you just got to hope
We-
for the best,
so,
really.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
recorded
so
a little bit of it. Went, yeah, that sounds alright, and then recorded the proper.
Well, you can't
thing,
really
didn't
even listen to it. You just look on the
Yeah,
levels,
you look at the waveform,
and
don't
it
you?
looks okay. But then he started singing, and as most people do, they sing a bit louder than
He
what
really
the test was. And it just, some of them weren't terrible, but some of them it clipped. And
What we had to do is we had to get the Rode mic on the camera and then the lav road mic, and we had to mix them. So when it overclipped on the lav mic, we would gently bring in the other road mic in, and then you also you'd hear loads of wind, and then the wind would disappear, and then it'd be back to the lav mic again.
That is so hood.
Yeah.
That's like the most ghetto way of doing it ever.
But you got to start somewhere, and we were like, you know what, we're going to get on with this.
At least you put the effort in.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot of work, isn't it?
They were probably some of those sessions at Rutland Water were looked quite decent. I
Yeah,
thought.
well, the one in the forest went
I was gonna
okay
say,
because
surely
it
there,
weren't
like,
as
that's-
windy.
That must be such a
Yeah.
beautiful place to film anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of my favourite places to go and like cycle or whatever it might be, but like I can imagine it looks great, but yeah, for audio probably.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
songs were good, and the audio was shit.
Yeah. So, and then we got the guy that we filmed first, Charlie, to record some stuff for us more professionally because he had his studio stuff. But because it's more kind of a hobby for him and stuff, he wasn't as
Andy's-
available.
He's
as
more
often.
he's more recording himself kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
I get the impression if you run a studio like you, Hamish, you have to be good at recording lots of people,
Yeah.
lots of different things. You have to know
Yeah.
the general concept rather than if you were just releasing your own album, you'd be really amazing at recording yourself, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the biggest thing is just, well, I mean, you've said it, yeah, it's the variety of people that you have. Drums especially is the biggest one. Like, drums is such a funny thing that, you'll get some people that are, and I don't mean this like as a bad thing, but like inconsistent players. We were just talking about this before the podcast, actually, like, where, like they might be really good and write really cool drum parts and stuff, but their hits might be pretty inconsistent, so you kind of have to know how to overcome that like within split seconds, because you may never have seen them play drums before or never heard them play drums before, and suddenly they start recording and you're like, oh, okay, actually this guy, or whatever, isn't hitting the snare drum consistently the whole way through or whatever it might be. So one, if it's really bad, you have to have the ability to tell that performer without insulting them, which for me is beneficial given that I am also a drummer, so there's like ways around it.
I feel like it's the environment that you create as well. When people have come in here for a session that we've been filming, you create an environment where you can like tell people creative that something needs to change.
I think they're not going to be offended. That's always been something that, like, having recorded in loads of studios and recorded with loads of different people, when I kind of set this place up, or even when I thought that I wanted to do this as a job before I'd even got the studio or anything, it was very much like whatever the situation ended up being, that I needed to have a space where people could come in and just feel completely at home, and that they could like pass ideas around, and that anybody, like, there's, if you're like spitballing ideas and nobody should be able to ever say no. People should always feel like, well, even if we think that's a pretty crud idea, we'll still give it a go because it might be the best idea ever. Well,
that's where creativity comes from, really, isn't it? You've got to not be afraid to.
Yeah, and I mean, it takes, with certain people who come in, whether it's for a live session or they're coming to make an album or even a single or whatever it might be, that you get certain people, like certain levels of comfort, if that makes sense. Some people will come in and they're really precious about their material, which rightfully so, they've dedicated hours of their life to writing songs. So why would they then want someone to be like, that's rubbish, let's try this?
Yeah.
I never tell anybody that stuff's rubbish, but like, if there's something that could be done better, or if their drummer's doing something, or the guitarist is playing a note that maybe could be slightly nicer note or whatever, then I'll have those conversations. But sometimes people are a bit like tentative about it, and sometimes people are just like, yeah, go for it, like whatever, and then there's everybody in between. So it's making sure that you can accommodate like as much as you possibly can, to make people feel comfortable about it. But yeah, it's troublesome. And also the other thing as well is that although the room is exactly the same every time we do a session, it changes completely band to band. And like we've done one session or two sessions with the drummer down this end, and then another session with the drummer up
in the middle.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, middle, and then I think two down there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Two
So
down
I
the
mean,
side.
in terms of that as well, like obviously depending on where you put certain instruments and stuff, they sonically change. So
I guess you have to know your space as well, which we were doing all our recording on location
Yeah.
or in.
We made it
different
very
space.
hard, didn't we? Like
The thing is, I think
he was
I love-
amazing at recording himself, but we were like, can we record it here
And
or
that's
outside?
with recording yourself, because he did all of the instruments himself.
Yeah.
he had to do it separately,
Yeah.
which means that he's just recording one guitar at a time.
The other thing as well, doing it yourself, is that you're essentially limitless on time. You know, you can do it literally like over the course of 5 years if you wanted to. Like, you know, if you did a piece of guitar and then 6 years later you were like, don't like that, you could just go back and do it again. You know, there's nobody, you don't have to count on anybody to do it.
No.
Whereas if you're doing like you say, especially if you're on location, like, you know, you are literally there for that amount of time in the day, and then that's it. You know, and like you guys will be losing light or whatever it might be, or you know, weather can change and stuff like that. So you kind of have to just be able to do it on the fly.
Yeah.
I've done a few location stuff. Like I did one for a 2000 Trees Festival in Gloucestershire, where they did it was their 10-year anniversary last year, I think, and they did like a mini documentary that one of my friends produced, and she asked me to come and do the audio. And we did it all on like a boom arm and a Zoom recorder, and that was pretty much it, because there was no power in the middle of a field. When there's no festival and there's no power in a field. So, you know, it was done like we had a backpack full of AA batteries, and that's basically all we were doing. And even still, you know, like they were like, oh, we want to do it in... Obviously for filming, they wanted to do it in all these really beautiful locations. And none of you guys have been to that festival, have you?
Nope.
No.
Never been.
So it's basically like in a basin, like a geographical basin.
Oh,
so
okay.
all the way around it is like a hill,
Yeah.
pretty much. So
Is it like a crater almost?
kind of, but it's much bigger than what you'd expect
Yeah.
from like your average crater, and it's farmland, so it's all like, you know, proper fields and stuff.
Yeah,
It's very
grassy,
beautiful. Yeah,
greeny,
exactly.
yeah.
But because of that, they were obviously like, well, we want to get shots of where the festival is, so we'd go right to the top of the hill where it's ridiculously windy, and then I had to sort of like get underneath people with like boom arms and like, you know, stick them in places where it wasn't in shot, but it was also not in the wind, and you know, and it was like they'd literally be like, we're going to do it on top of that hill, and it'd be like,
The absolute
yeah, literally like, this
I'm
is,
so
it might
good.
look amazing, but it sounds god awful.
I feel like that's it's kind of a different job as well, doing that as opposed
Completely.
to studio.
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
So you know the
absolutely.
concepts, I guess, but you have to adapt them for, like, people do just boom operating for
Yeah.
their career.
Yeah.
And then there's usually another guy operating the
like the
device.
recorder.
and all
Yeah,
that.
exactly. I think the other thing as well is that, you know, transferring from what I'm used to in a studio in terms of like my input and output and all my analog gear and all that kind of stuff, to suddenly basically be giving one microphone on a Zoom recorder, which I've used obviously numerous times in my life, but it's not, you know, it's not something I'd go to as like a recording device.
Yeah.
And they were like, this is what we've got, and I was like, right, okay, fine. And then you have to make the best of that situation, and you know, as best you possibly can.
I guess one way of getting around that could be like using a lav. You could put it under their clothes as well, like
Yeah,
strap it to.
We
their
did a
chest.
couple of things. We
That's
got-
a real thing.
That's a real
No,
thing.
No,
that
it
was
is-
just
it
plugged
is.
into the phone. If you got a proper lav mic,
Yeah.
Well,
wireless connector.
we were lucky that we had, so we didn't have it on, we had a Bluetooth one, so it was just anything that went into the microphone was just transferred to my phone still. But you know, like the trouble is that, you know, like if your Bluetooth signal's weak or whatever it might be,
Yeah.
or if you have to be a certain amount of distance away, that Bluetooth signal, you know, so we had lav mics on everyone anyway, just because it was like, well, we've got it, we may as well use it. And then it was, you know, pretty much unusable. You know, like there was proportionately much less usable data than there was. Wait, is that right?
Usable data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just sacked it off, and you know, I ended up coming back to the studio with the raw data from the Zoom, and then spent probably about a day cleaning it up anyway and getting rid of sort of horrible wind. Well, doing my best to get rid of wind noise, which is almost impossible.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah,
And there's
what we
devices
found
that you can, you know, like programs you can have that, like, it's called a spectrogram, and it basically, what it does is like puts your audio file into like a color graph on your screen, and then if you select a certain bit of audio, it'll show you, like, if there's a sudden surge in audio, it'll color that bit as
okay.
red or whatever,
Yeah.
and you can literally just like click on the color and delete it. But obviously you don't know what else is within
Yeah,
that
that's
range
it,
and
isn't
stuff,
it?
so you'll delete it and then listen to it and be like, oh, okay, so it's all gone.
It's just
The wind's gone, but so's everything else.
It's just a representation, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not actually.
Yeah.
Just hear a little cough, and that's about it.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you know, it's not the best thing in the world, but yeah, I've done stuff like that, and I'd love to do stuff like that again. It's just finding I guess the way of doing it that is better than using like a Zoom and a boom arm.
You got more control, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's any better, but Zoom do a big 8-track recording
I mean,
portable thing.
To be fair, there's things like even like any audio interface that's powered by USB is fine, because if you've got, if you have your laptop and it's full battery and it's got a fairly healthy battery life on it, and you're powering your USB, then you can run quite nice microphones through that and you can record it like that. But obviously, you then run the risk of running out of battery and blah blah blah. So, there are ways of doing it that are much more compact and simple, but the power is the biggest issue.
Just need to carry around a car battery.
Yeah. Well, there's a guy I know that does a very similar thing down in Cambridge, and they bought like one of those little generators. That has,
What? Like a diesel?
Petrol diesel.
So you're
generator.
there, like, sound like.
No, well, the thing is that it's got such a long cable on it that they can put it so far away that it never actually.
that's
pulls
good.
it.
Someone's just walking their dog, and
But
they're
the
like,
other thing as well is that
fucking-
they'll like, obviously if his laptop starts running out, they take an hour break and he powers it up and then charges his laptop and then they just go back to it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, they got it from like Machine Mart or whatever for like 40 quid, and they just like put £5 worth of diesel in it and then
Well, you
it's
go.
sorted. So
Yeah. You can get massive batteries, like camera batteries. There's some called V-Lock, I think, and they're massive and they'll last like all day.
Oh, what? And you can just like a power bank almost.
Yeah, it's like a
How long do they
detach-
take to charge?
Well,
Imagine
probably
you could
more
probably
than a day.
drip charge them overnight, couldn't you? Something like that.
Yeah. But the biggest ones that we have are like 9,200, whatever the
Milliamps.
measurement is. Yeah, and they take hours to charge.
Yeah.
They take like a full day to charge, but they don't run out.
Yeah, I was going to say that's what you need, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be useful, yeah. But, so yeah, we used him for a little while, and then we found two others, didn't we? Two other people.
But it's
But they were like more kind of, oh yeah, we're free today. So they kind of did it, and it was great in that, but obviously they didn't have the kind of commitment that we needed, because one of them went off to cruise ships all the time, was a pianist on the cruise ship, and the other one was his own band, so he was recording it for the band, and then,
he did Blakey though.
Oh yeah, because
that
he
we
knew
filmed as
he
well,
knew
'cause
he
that
knew
was
him
the
as
guy
well.
Was that the
that.
tattoo artist?
Yeah. And then we were kind of like, oh, we need a proper sound engineer.
Well, the way that we kind of saw it always was that it would be something really useful for everyone involved, like in giving us work that we could show off and connections and stuff, and if someone was actively involved in recording stuff, it would be quite useful for them as well to have the connections and just network kind of like a.
I suppose for me as well is that, like as a studio, one thing that people don't really ever see unless you post photos and stuff is the inside of the studio, or like, I guess kind of what I don't like the term, but like what the vibe is like inside the studio walls. And I think unless you've actually booked in to come and record, you don't really ever see that or like get a good feel for that. Whereas with this, for me, if there's continuous content of the studio out there for people just to tune into and be like, oh, that looks like a cool space, where's that? And then they can immediately find out where it is.
And if it sounds good, then they'll probably want to come as
exactly.
well if it's their kind of sound.
That band might be like, oh, we might record something here as well.
Yeah,
like,
precisely.
come to do the thing. But yeah, Adam found you, didn't he?
Yeah.
How did you guys meet?
I think there's loads of. I'm sure
I don't know
everybody
whether it was
already
like
knows, but
the Derby one or the not.
so I would have thought it would have been the Lincoln one because it was closer to you, isn't it? Lincolnshire's that way, and you're that way. But maybe
It's
not.
not to Adam, but it kind of is to me. But we kind of class ourselves more Nottingham based, because Nottingham's where music's really happening closest to us. It's got a good hub, hasn't it, of stuff happening. So it was rather Derby. I think it was the Derby one.
I
Wasn't
think it was the Derby one because I don't think I'm a member. I don't know why I'm a member of the Derby.
I think I
one
invited
even,
you
but-
to that one because I think I was like, I'm going to look around. I was going to like add a load of things. I'm sure I added you to it. I'm not sure.
So yeah, I saw you posting on there, and I just thought that it seemed like an interesting idea to at least talk about. I didn't because we also spoke about whether it was the fact that you had a space to record in was the thing that drew us, but that wasn't. We weren't that bothered about that necessarily anyway, because we coped with
doing it
wherever.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily that, and I just thought you looked like you presented yourself in a way that made people made people trust you, I guess, because you get a lot of
You know what
people
you're
that-
doing.
Very nice of you.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't know enough about audio to necessarily like listen to what you've done and say that this is the best thing ever or this is the worst thing
no,
ever.
it makes
Or
sense. Yeah, I suppose if you're not a musician or you don't, like it's not something that you've kind of had any interest in, that's quite normal.
Yeah.
I think like I guess it's nice to hear you say that because that's kind of the way I try and present
Yeah.
myself as a business, but obviously personally as myself as well. Like,
Well, I think it's what we said about it being like a trust you gut kind of thing, like a
Yeah.
gut feeling. Like it seems like a decent guy at least, so it's worth talking about the idea with.
and I think you picked it. It's funny actually how much stuff has come through, like not necessarily like directly work related in terms of like I've obviously had clients come into the studio because of posting on those pages, but it's also obviously introduced me to you guys, but it also, like, the last time I did one of those posts on a page, I found a new guy to repair all my amps because he saw it, and the photo that I'd posted with it was like a massive photo of all of these amps that we'd used for a session, and he is a sole trader as an amp, like a classic amp repair guy.
Yeah.
And he basically emailed me and was like, you probably already have someone that does it, but I just thought I'd let you know that I also do this, and I'm only like 4 miles from your studio, so it's probably way easier for you. And I was just kind of like, I mean, yeah. And then I looked like within 2 days, I took all of my amps to be serviced at his place, and it was kind of, the same sort of thing. Like when you approached me about it, it had been something that I'd wanted to do, and I'd been talking to a bunch of clients about it, like that are friends of mine now through being clients, and they were like, oh yeah, this was before I'd met you guys. They were like, oh, it'd be so cool to do a session here, and do you do sessions anywhere else, and blah blah blah, and all this kind of stuff. People that wanted to do the sort of thing like where they wanted to do it at Rutland Water, but maybe not outdoors, like in like a
not the insane way.
Well, yeah, exactly, or whatever, that kind of stuff. And they were like, do you do that? And I was like, well, I mean, I can do that, but I don't have people that can do the video part of it or like the visual element, because I I know how to turn a camera on, but that's about it. I'm not a camera guy.
We're at the next level above that. We know how to turn it on and hit record.
Yeah, which is ideal, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly.
Well, sometimes we hit record, not notice that we haven't hit it good enough, and then later on be like, oh, I didn't record.
Oh no, I didn't
Damn.
get a tape.
But you can blame that on the camera.
They also know how to flip the screen around, like
So you can monitor yourself.
Yeah, so you can look at the screen as it's filming it.
Yeah, that's pretty
So I
ideal,
mean, that's
isn't
a very good skill.
Yeah.
That is quality.
That took us 5 years to learn that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like and it was perfect timing because I wanted to do it for ages, but I suppose the biggest thing, like I'm not from Nottingham originally, and like the people that I've met that do visual side of stuff do it for like agencies. They don't necessarily do it for themselves. So they already have, I say, a 9-to-5 job. Really, they're working like 13 hours a day for these agencies.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
the last thing they need to do is then go and film something here. Whereas when you guys approached me and were like, we want to do this, are you interested? It was immediately something I was interested in. So, I think we just met up, didn't we, and had like a chat about it, and you came
Yeah,
to
we
see
sat
space
here.
and
Well, I sat with Simon Adam sat where I was.
yeah, and we just kind of chatted about it.
You remember where you were
just kinda
sitting?
worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got mate.
We always.
That's where, that's where you
that
should
is, to be
sit
fair,
there.
that is the configuration.
Oh, okay. I've ruined it.
Non-stop.
Yeah.
Yeah,
On
and
all
it's
our
just-
videos on the internet as well as that configuration. We
Is
can't do. Yeah.
Is it like Ant and Deck that always have to stand on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've ruined your configuration. You should have told me.
Well,
Should have
I do
informed
feel a bit
me.
uneased.
Yeah.
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 I see you
Seem
like
right.
perched
Yeah.
like, tense.
Oh, I feel uneasy now.
Should we swap mid podcast?
So it's and then we kind of hit it off, and it seemed like it was a good idea. And
It's going good so far.
I don't even remember who. You guys had a band that we still haven't done.
Who is it?
Yeah.
It wasn't
Oh.
the Decomposer, with the first band that you guys mentioned, and you were like, these guys want to do it, and it just couldn't match up.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
realised that we should probably mention Alex as well, who, to be fair, has given us 2 of the 3 bands that we did.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
there's a guy who is now my best friend, but prior to this was a client of mine here. He's in a band called Redwood, who are like on the kind of smaller band, emo, grungy kind of touring circuit, and he's through that made loads of friends with bands that they've played shows with and blah blah blah. So I kind of approached him and was like, look, you're way more in tune with what's going on in that kind of subculture, so can you just either point me towards bands
Yeah.
that I can approach, or approach bands yourselves? And because he's essentially like, what's the word, like an ambassador for me, unofficially, but that's kind of like like he's come back and they've done their album with me and they did EPs with me and all sorts of stuff. So he obviously like trusts me. So he kind of pushes that onto these other bands, and that's how we got Coffee Breath, were through him. And then Chocolate, the other band that we've done one with, they were pretty much through Redwood as a whole, but very much through him as well. And then Super Furniture, I think I just asked them if they wanted to come and do one, and they were pretty keen.
Nice.
They're a
Sounds
Nottinghamshire
cool.
band.
I think that's one thing that we had lacking before, like the contacts within the industry and knowing what people are doing. So,
Yeah, I think it's hard as well. I think the thing is, like, quite a lot of bands, and this has been like forever for me, since I was probably about 15. I think a lot of people are like, and it's crazy, but they're not confident enough to put themselves live to recording.
Yeah.
Especially not with a visual attached to it. You know, like if it's just audio, they can just like throw it away. But when there's visual as well, you know, like people are much more engaged in that if they put it live. And I think people just assume that like maybe they just don't want to. They don't want to hear themselves live like that, because if there's one thing a band will never see, it's themselves live.
Yeah,
it's,
that's
it's
it,
not possible. So like the last thing they want to do is listen back to something and be like, oh God, we are trash.
Yeah.
Which, you know, like 9 times out of 10, and no disrespect to bands because I'm included in that 9 out of 10, but like there's been times when I've listened back to live recordings and been like, oh God, like what on earth was I doing there? You know, like, because you're always your own worst critic, aren't you?
Yeah,
Like,
of course.
But that's
yeah.
how you learn. That's the
but
best
yeah,
way
well,
to
this
learn.
is and this
isn't
is
it?
the
So
this
that's
is
the
this
thing.
is how I've always tried to like pitch it to guys as well. Is that like, you know, if I speak to a band and they're like, oh, we're not, you know, we don't know about that. I'm like, you know, if you do it, you don't have to release it. Like, if you hate it, that's fine. You know, it's no big deal. You
Learn
can just
from
not do
it.
it, but
See,
you may
so-
as well look at it and be like, right, well, we are not good enough live at the moment, so we need to get better at this.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you
Exactly,
just
yeah.
take something away from it that's good. You know, like, and by all means, you can keep the videos. Like, they, you know, that it is you, so have them. Like, have the audio, listen back to it, see where you're going wrong, and then get better, and then come back and do a better one.
yeah.
You know, like,
Well, that's the other thing. When we've recorded the audio, at least we let the band listen back and
Yeah.
see what they think, and that's normally, well, it seems there's varying degrees out of the 3 bands that we had. There's people that want to get things exactly perfect, and also people that want to have it more of a live kind of feel, which I like both sides of. I think it's both good.
I think the thing that with perfection in, like, well, it's like any art, it's like anything. There's no such thing as perfection.
No,
like
definitely
really,
not.
you, like
Yeah.
especially not to the individual that's like creating it. Essentially, that it's never going to be perfect. And like, I, you know, obviously like working with musicians that want it to be as good as it possibly can be, but that kind of, in my experience, is much more important when you're making a record, for example, you know, because that is the main representation of that song that you've recorded. So you obviously want that to be as good as possible. But if you're doing a live session, like it's in the title,
yeah,
isn't
The
it?
thing,
It's live.
the
Like,
thing I love about live sessions is because like when you go and see a band live, there's something quite nice about that rawness.
Yeah.
It kind of sounds different.
it's funny
That's
because
how we try and pitch it as well, as a
as like a
live
real
thing.
live
Yeah.
thing. And I think, you know, that's it. I don't see, like, if I go and watch bands, it tends to not be ginormous touring like stadium bands. But whether or not this is going to embarrass me, I don't know. But I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. I went and saw Busted last year
Oh, wow.
on their reunion tour, and just because I was like, that's going to be hilarious. Like, obviously, I'm going to go to that. And my friend just bought me a ticket for my birthday, so I didn't pay for anything. I just
Yeah.
went, and it was great.
Yeah.
But it literally, they may as well have just played a CD through the PA. It was that, like, not real.
Yeah.
And I, you know, and like, because of the type of show it is, it's so controlled. Like, the sound is so controlled, and the sound level is so controlled that, like, I was sitting in a stadium having a conversation like this whilst they were playing with the guy that I'd gone with about like how crystal clear it sounded, and then we were like, this is crazy that we can just talk.
Yeah.
And it's like as if someone's just got the radio on in the background. And it was like, I realised like how much I wasn't enjoying it.
That's what I mean. You want to,
Because
yeah.
I was like, I may as well have just stayed at home.
Do you think they did just press play on a CD?
Well, honestly, like with a lot of bands that size, like
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
I mean, you know,
exactly.
they will be playing, and there will be obviously audio coming out because they are, especially with like I can't believe I'm going to give Busted the thumbs up. Like, they can actually play their instruments, and they can sing. Like, Charlie was in Fight Star, and I didn't really get into Fight Star that much, but they were incredible live, and they were actually playing live. So, like, I know that he's good, and so there's no reason for them not to have him actually singing live, or the rest of them singing live. But like everything else, like I guarantee there will have been like guitars on backing tracks, and there will have been other vocals on backing tracks.
It feels like the TV kind of situation where they get told that they have to like play to the track or whatever.
Yeah.
Did you hear the like the Nirvana story about when I think it was on the
Top of the
Jonathan
Pops.
Ross?
No, it was Jonathan Ross.
And
it was Top of the Pops they did as well.
What song were they going to play? Like a 4-minute kind of song, and then they just played Territorial Pissings instead.
Yeah. And they've done that Muse did one as well in Germany. There's a really famous video of Muse doing it where they were like, yeah, you can't play live, you have to play to the song. And so all of them changed instruments. So Matt Bellamy's on the drums, left-handed, and he's obviously not left-handed, but their drummer is. So it's a left-handed setup. Their drummer is playing bass, and I think their bass player is on guitar, but he's got the guitar with the strings facing him. And like they're all just stood like, you can't see the action I'm doing, but it's like just the most robotic thing ever. If you've not seen it, watch it. It's absolutely amazing.
Nirvana did that on Top of the Pops.
Yeah,
Same
thing.
And
I think theirs was like in homage to the Nirvana one.
Yeah, they were just pissing about as well.
And it was exactly like that, and it is so funny. But
But I love it when they do that because I think you've got to have that liveness, and I think that's why vinyl is quite popular as well because it has that kind of more
more real,
isn't it? Realness to it. And
I think there's just something about like, it's funny you should mention about vinyl as well. Like the cool thing and what I love about vinyl is that like most records, and I say most because definitely not all, but most records are made to be listened to as one piece of music. You are supposed to start at track 1 and finish at track 12 or 13 or whatever, whatever. And with a record, there's no skip button.
No.
Like, yeah, you can, if you're so desperate to listen to track 7, you can find the groove and like, but ultimately, like, there's something about that. And it's the same as live music. Like live music it's called live music because you're watching it live and it's supposed to be live. So you're supposed to feel like the energy and the spit and the sweat and all the rest of it coming off the stage. Like, otherwise you kind of just paid to listen to the CD really loud.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It doesn't really make any sense to me.
It doesn't make sense.
I got called pretentious once for wanting to listen to an album all the way through.
Like, I can't not.
Why would you shuffle it as well?
Well, this is what like, and I hate to be that guy that's like, oh, he works in the music industry and he doesn't like Spotify. I love Spotify. It's the best thing ever. I go out on record and say that right now. It is amazing, but it definitely has destroyed the manufacture of records. So like there are bands that I know, in fact my old band did a very similar thing, which is that where we made an album, and there are bands I know that have made an album where if you skip a track or you try and start track 8, it starts like halfway through the song. So that the master of the record has been split so that the track transition isn't at the beginning or the end of the song. So if you skip, you just miss half the song. So you have to listen to the album as a whole because that's how it was written.
Very unusual. Yeah, okay.
So like if you're on track 1 and you're like, I don't like this, skip to the single. The single will come in, but it'll come in on like the second chorus, and then you get like 10 seconds before the end of the song. So the only way you could do it is by like fast forwarding through track 4 to get to where that song track 5 starts, and then listen. And like loads of people are like, what a bunch of dicks. Like, so lame. But ultimately, like they're the artist and you like them because of what they make. So therefore, like why not listen to it the way that it was made and intended to be listened to, which is from back to front. And it's like people are always like, I don't have time for that. And it's like, no, you do. Because like you sit on the tube for half an hour and the album is half an hour long. So you definitely do. Or, like you spend an hour every night watching tattoo fixes. Just don't do that and listen to the album.
That's the great thing about audio. You can do something else whilst you're listening to it.
Get some waterproof headphones, do it in the shower.
Yeah, well, do you know what I mean? Or just put it on your waterproof Bluetooth speaker, the normal way around.
Yeah, you want headphones, get it right close to
you need waterproof headphones.
Put plastic bags on your headphones. Oh, sorry, Mum, you got any sandwich bags? Listen to this in the shower.
Come here.
But yeah, like, and I think it's really important to do that. But I've always been like a liner notes kind of guy as well. Like I like buying, whether it's vinyl or CD or anything. Like yes, I still buy CD.
It's a lovely physical thing.
Yeah, I like having a tangible thing. Like one of my favourite bands, who I'm also lucky enough to call some of my good friends, like the Excerpts have just put out a new album, and to date I've got every single one of their records on physical copy because they are one of those bands that put everything into creating like a full piece of art as a package.
Yeah.
They don't just make an album, they'll have like booklets that come with it. Like, and I don't just mean a
Yeah.
regular CD booklet. They'll like make a book that goes with it, and also you get posters and you get blah and all this information and bonus stuff and whatever. And I like getting it and sitting. Like I'm one of those guys that has like my setup in the kitchen, but I have a chair that's like in front of the speakers, so I can just sit and listen to albums, like, and do nothing else but just listen to music. And I like having, whether it's a vinyl sleeve or whatever, and being able to look through that stuff whilst I'm listening to it and kind of get a better understanding of what they were going for or why they made it in that way.
Do you ever listen on shuffle in any? Because there's like one scenario where I'd listen on shuffle.
Is that in the car?
No.
Oh, where is it?
Well, not it's sometimes when I listen to like Biffy Clyro or something, for example, when they've got like 7 albums or whatever now.
Yeah, and
sometimes I like bits and bobs.
For sure. There's that I definitely have done, and there's times where like I used to do it. I don't do it anymore because it's ridiculously dangerous. But I used to listen to music whilst I was cycling, and I cycle on the road. So dumbest idea ever. Don't do it.
I wouldn't advise
also
that.
wear a helmet. But if I used to do that, or if I was like at the gym or whatever, I'd put stuff on shuffle so that it constantly, like, the pace would change. So I'd constantly be like motivated by whatever that, like that was my subconscious like thinking anyway. It was like that's
well,
what
you know what's going to come next day if it's not in shuffle.
Exactly. So you kind of become lethargic, or whatever. Or you kind of like sink into that kind of rhythm. So I used to shuffle it like that, but I have this issue where there are certain albums that one of the songs off that album will come in on shuffle and I'll be like, God, this album's so good, and then I have to start that album from the beginning, and then I'd stop shuffling immediately.
I think the only time when shuffle works is that whether you're not sure of what to listen to.
Yeah, and then you
find something 5 tracks in and go for it. But occasionally also with Biffy, rather than doing the whole shuffle, I go from like album 1 to album 7 or something like that in like one go.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's...
I guess I'm one of those bad people. Then I'll listen to an album all the way through, probably a few times, and then I'm like a shuffle guy after that.
I think it's funny. Like it's an odd one because I think given my job, I make records to be listened to as a record, and so like there's a part of me that's like, I spend all day doing this for people. Why on earth would I then just go behind my own back and be like, nah, I'll listen to it? Like, I guess there's something in my head. I don't think of that consciously, but I guess something in there that says that. But at the same time, like, I think I don't think it's bad that people shuffle. Like I get why that's a function, because it does make sense. Especially the other thing as well is that like in this day and age, and I don't like the way it's gone, but music is so, like, pop music is so digestible and sort of so almost just like, what's the word, like throwawayable.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. There's nothing about the album, is there? The way it's
doesn't
the album is not. Yeah, the album is not put together necessarily as an album. So like it doesn't.
Singles, isn't it?
Yeah, so you can shuffle together. And and the other thing as well is that people will hear a single on Radio 1 and they'll be like, love that song, download that.
That's it.
The rest of the album's not important until the second single off that album comes out, then they download that. So ultimately they don't have albums on their iPod or phone to listen to, they just have, or if they're on Spotify, they've made a playlist of all the singles they've heard on Radio 1 and that's just what they listen to. And so it is basically made for shuffling. Like
when Spotify and all that wasn't so much of a big thing, there was a feature I think on iTunes that was like a button that was like complete this album. So if you bought the first 3 singles, then you could just like do a top-up kind of thing to have the whole album. And I guess that feature came out of that thing that everyone just bought the singles and stuff.
It is odd. I think the other crazy thing as well is that like my younger brother's a prime example of it. I don't know why he does it like that. I've tried to explain it to him. He's quite like stubborn in his way, but like he will buy 7 songs off a 10-track album individually, and at that point he's already spent more than the album costs for the 10 songs by like £3.
Wow.
It's like, mate, just if you just buy, you don't have to listen to the other 3 songs. You might like them, but you have to listen to them anyway. And then you've saved £3 and you've got 3 songs more than you have anyway. Like, what are you doing?
And you clearly like the band.
Yeah, I was like, you obviously like it enough to have 7 of the songs from the album, so why not just give the other 3 a go? Like, but that's unfortunately, like, he's 3 or 4 years younger than me, and that was kind of the mentality at school when he was at school, was that you just that's when it came in that you just started listening to the songs.
It's changed, hasn't it? Thanks to the digital age kind of thing. I mean, the way you listen to albums is like the way we watch movies. Because me and Adam, whenever we watch movies, we want to make sure that like you spent a good hour tuning your TV before we watched that.
Yeah,
film,
when I first got my TV last year, when I first moved into my house, I'd got like a 4K HDR TV and 5.1 surround sound set up and everything.
Nerd.
And
Nerd.
all right.
Spend an hour tweaking it.
Well, we were going to watch it, but we didn't start watch it till like 9 or 10 at night, did we?
Yeah.
Because I wanted to like turn off intelligent frame creation and stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
Most-
even
So
like,
annoying.
I'm not a visual guy, but like even I get annoyed at that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
my friend has it, and you watch stuff like cartoons, and it jitters it so weirdly, and I'm like, why don't you turn it off?
What's really annoying as well, and I never noticed this because I'll be honest, I've never really had, like when I was a kid at my mum's house, like we had a TV, but it was so crap anyway that, you know, like, and I was a kid, I didn't care.
Yeah.
And then I got into audio, and then when I was at uni, our house came with a like massive TV, but it obviously must not have had this feature, or someone must have turned it off. But I bought a TV for the house that I live in with my girlfriend recently, second-hand one, and it has some like, it's called like audio enhanced, where basically it's just a really, really aggressive compressor. Like really aggressive. So like if you're watching a film and like a helicopter comes over, obviously that's supposed to be loud because it's a helicopter.
Yeah.
But the TV will like like really turn it down.
Yeah.
So the audio is like wow 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 the whole way through, and I was like, what on earth is going on? And then like found it, and then there's like a million other audio settings where like it will it preempts when a show's gonna like end. And I guess like someone must have been like, oh, we'll do that because, you know, like, people start talking at the end of shows. So what we'll do is we'll start like turning it down.
Yeah.
But like it can't quite figure out when stuff's going to start or end. So it just kicks in whenever it wants.
Yeah.
And the TV will just start turning it down. And I'm like, what?
Yeah,
I missed the last line.
That's why I spent a whole hour just taking all the auto stuff off.
Yeah.
Well, why-
Then this is it. It makes perfect sense to do that. But
Yeah.
like I literally was like, why is this even on there? Like this is
That's what I mean.
ridiculous.
It's like it's been made that way for you to look at it or listen to it that way. Why do you need these settings and change it all? Like, why do you need to make it more saturated? If it needs to be more saturated, the guy who's grading it would have made it
more saturated.
Yeah.
That's the thing, and I know it's a big thing within music. You create something with your kind of high-end setup, and then people listen to it on their phone or on the shittest headphones ever.
Well, there's like a really, I'm not going to say famous because it's a ridiculous way of putting it, but like a very popular graphic that's gone around for about the last like 8 to 10 years, which is just someone's like pencil drawing. I think it must have been like a uni student or whatever did it at uni or whatever, and it's literally like, it's like a flow chart of how music is created, and it's like starts with like a Neve analog console, which, you know, and everything's got a price tag next to it, so that's like £250,000, and then a pair of monitors that cost, you know, like $1,000, and then, you know, some microphones that cost $1,000 each or whatever it might be, and it carries on going, and obviously like the pricing sort of depletes, and then it just gets to the end and it's just a pair of Apple earbuds, and it costs like, and the song like logo, and it just says like 79p over the top of it, and I was just like, you know, I've never been, I mean, I listen to MP3s because everybody does. If you listen to Spotify, you're listening to an MP3. Like, ultimately, now that the conversion rate is so good between a WAV and an MP3 that, like, I challenge anybody who considers themselves like a real audiophile to notice the difference between a 320 MP3 and a WAV, like, on a standard pair of, like, Bose headphones or whatever. Like, you just, it's so minimal that you just won't see it. But there was a time, like, when MP3 players first became a thing, and, you know, like, my first MP3 player was 128 kilobytes of space. Massive. You could get, like, 4 songs on it. And, but, you know, at the time, because of that, people were making MP3s so small that it was removing so much of the audio content that it like, I'm sure you've heard it, like, when you hear audio and it sounds a bit like bubbly, almost. Like, really low quality. And, like, that was a bummer for me, because I was like, God, I want to go into an industry where, like, I spend days of my life creating really high-end, like, wicked audio, and then someone listens to this crap.
That's the end result.
But, like, thankfully, in those last, like, 10 to 15 years, that's not really the end result anymore. You know, like, most places, iTunes is one of the only ones that hasn't really upped its game yet, but, like, iTunes is still on, I think it's like 192 kilobytes a second, which is basically the amount of bits and bytes that are within the file. Which is, like, half the size of the maximum you can have. But even then, like, for most people on a pair of iPod headphones or whatever they're using, like you wouldn't notice the difference anyway. So it doesn't, you know. And to be fair, like now that I'm working, you kind of, there are things that I'll do in here and I'm just like, why am I even doing that? Like, it sounds really cool in here, but this is the only place it'll sound cool. Like, after it's left here, that's it. No one's ever going to hear that again. And it's things like, you know, certain reverbs and certain echoes and stuff like that that are like the first things to get removed. Because the way, do you know about audio compression at all or not?
Not really, no.
So I imagine it might be the same as video compression, probably slightly different, I don't know. But audio compression is essentially like the human hearing range is 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. That's, if your hearing is absolutely perfect, that's allegedly the level that you're meant to hear.
Definitely not mine.
No, exactly. And it's not, if you can find anybody in the world apart from like a baby that can voice that they can hear.
tell you.
Like,
How does it sound?
Yeah.
Go.
But
Hamish is God with that reverb that he put on.
but the way compression works is that it basically strips frequencies out in the lower portion and the higher portion, and obviously the more it strips frequencies out, the more information you lose of the file in total. So like at 320 your file is still like, I mean, it's not massive by any stretch of the imagination. It's a lot smaller than a lossless file, but it literally just takes out like around 20 hertz because you just can't hear that. And if you could hear it, you wouldn't want to hear it anyway because it's basically just like and then it takes out what is essentially just like really low, like not even sound, it's like energy. It gets rid of that. And then the smaller and smaller it goes, obviously the more and more it strips out, which is why when you start stripping out, like when you get really low quality MP3s, they've stripped out like loads of frequencies where it's actually pretty vital to have those frequencies in because it's where the voice sits or where the cymbals sit or whatever it might be. So you then start noticing and you're like, God, this sounds awful.
Yeah.
Or you start losing all of the bass because, that's the next
Can't
one.
lose the bass.
Well, this is it, you know. But that doesn't really happen anymore because most people have, phones that have, a terabyte's worth of storage on it.
Fast internet as well.
Exactly.
So
And it's only getting more and more.
Exactly.
So if anything, quality's going to get better.
Well, yeah, is
You'd hope.
that what's happening with music? Because in video you've got like the dynamic range of an image, and it's kind of how much difference there is from the dark bit of the image to the light bit of the image. And now that you've got HDR TVs and HDR cameras that can capture like 14 stops of dynamic range as opposed to like the cheaper stuff, which is like 6 or 8 stops or whatever. But it takes more. It's more data, obviously, so it's more to transmit over the internet. So as internet is growing bigger and bigger, like you can get like 400 megabits per second from Virgin now.
Allegedly.
Yeah, that's the marketing thing, obviously. But still, it takes a lot to put that out. So, which also interestingly to me, anyway, there's if you want to watch something in 4K on like a streaming thing like Amazon or Netflix, it takes about 60 megabits per second to
just to buffer it
to kind of get that. That's how big the kind of file is.
Yeah.
So you need an internet above that. They say about 40, but when you start getting into 4K HDR stuff, it's like about 60, which is about what BT offer. So, and that's not with any 5.1 surround sound or anything, because the sound takes up a lot more space than the video. So is that the same in audio? How, because we can physically transmit bigger file sizes, will that happen? Because it's just growing in video.
I'd imagine. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, the trouble is, I don't know if it's the same, but there's an argument, but behind that audio is disposable. That's what I'm looking for. Like that, music is becoming so disposable that people just like consumers of music don't care enough. I think that's the thing. And ultimately, as I've said already, is that like you'd be hard pressed to notice a difference between like the highest level MP3 and kind of basically a WAV, which is like a fully lossless format, which is what I export from here before I do anything with it. So I think ultimately, like people are just not fussed enough. Like people like, what was it? Is it Tidal that like when like Spotify and Amazon
is that still going?
Well, I mean that's it. I don't know. Yeah, probably.
Big.
But it sucked because people. No one cares enough. Not enough market.
What is Tidal?
Tidal was Jay-Z's answer to.
Oh,
do you remember
when you saw the video of them all around the table going, "We need to get our money back because we're not making enough." And they were millionaires.
And so Tidal the whole purpose of Tidal was that you paid like £20 a month for like basically what is lossless audio.
Yeah.
But ultimately, no one has headphones good. Like your general consumer doesn't have headphones good enough to even notice a difference. And to be honest, they don't even have the hearing to notice the difference.
Yeah.
And that's not me being like I don't. You know, like I'm an audio engineer and I don't have that. Like, and I'm going to admit that because it's ridiculous. It was a ridiculous concept. Let alone the fact that they're all billionaires and they were like, "Whoa, we don't make enough money from streaming," and it's like, grow up. But I mean, you know, like I'd say that there will always be people that are trying to like. It's not even innovation. It's basically like going
Something
back to
different,
being,
innit?
you know. But
Yeah.
like, ultimately, you know, like it's going to cost a lot of money to subscribe to, and it's going to cost a lot of money for those people to put out. And I think ultimately people don't care enough about. Not even that they don't care enough. They just don't notice it. Like with
most
visual
people-
stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you massively notice the difference between like.
Well, you say
But
that.
also
Well,
people watch
Some people are
BBC,
like, I can't tell 1080p and 4K.
Well,
and
yeah.
also people,
Well, I'm one of
people
those
still,
people.
Yeah.
if you've got a HD channel like BBC HD, they still watch
I can't
the
watch
normal
HD.
one. What?
I can't. I really struggle. It freaks me out. It doesn't look natural.
What?
It
It's
looks-
more natural.
No, it's
your
not.
eyes must be.
Yeah, they probably are.
Blurry.
I've got glasses. I really struggle with it, but I think it's because I grew up with like the cheapest crud TV, so I'm so used to watching like The Simpsons as blurry as it can be, and you know, like,
Yeah.
and that's kind of what I'm used to. But I like, you know, obviously I noticed a difference. Like I looked at a QLED display the other day, like one of the Samsung curved QLED screens,
Yeah.
and they were playing. They had like an HD, a 4K, and a QLED like next to one another, and like the difference between the depth of field. Well, it's not depth of field. Was it like the contrast basically between
Yeah, dynamic range.
between
Yeah.
the HD and the QLED is ridiculous. Like when
Well,
someone's like the blacks are blacker, I'm like, no, they're not. And then I looked at it and was like, yes, they are. Like,
Well, that's the thing. Like it's the like SD, HD, 4K doesn't make too much difference to me. It's the dynamic range that's the big thing.
Yeah.
Because it's just so much better than having something a bit more clearer, a bit more like clarity in it. That's
Yeah.
what you get when you go from 1080 to 4K, a bit more clearer.
but then
when
does
you
it not make a difference on the screen that you're watching on?
Well,
like
yeah.
if
I-
you know, like my MacBook Pro doesn't have a Retina 5K
Yeah.
display. so
Well, if you're
am
on
I really-
Netflix, you can't stream it. Like if I've got Netflix on my iPad and I can't stream in 4K because it's
Because
not got a
you're-
screen.
yeah.
But my TV shows that option up, so I can't even browse the like 4K titles as 4K. They just show up as 1080.
Right.
So, but also what's kind of interesting is apparently there's not many shows that actually stream in 4K. They stream in 2K because of the sizes of the internet,
Yeah.
broadband and everything these days, or bandwidth, and then they upscale on the other end. So it's not even in full proper 4K.
Yeah, it's not like traditional 4K or whatever.
Apart from the Grand Tour, that's one of the only things at the moment.
That doesn't
But that's buffers for about half a minute on mine before it gets. It looks
Anywhere.
like horrible for the intro, and then it looks fine after.
There's something else quite interesting as well about the TVs is I watched the slow-mo video that the guy, slow-mo
Slow-mo
guys.
guys. My
Well,
favourites.
they looked at all these TVs
Oh,
really
it came
close
out
up.
recently, didn't it?
Yeah,
I loved it. I watched it.
Because
as well.
you were talking about the blacks. Well, if you have like an
LCD.
LCD screen, because it's lighting up the lights at the back. If you have something like a bit of white and then black underneath, because they have to light it up at the back there. Still, the blacks look like a bluey stuff because it's still lighting it up. So they've invented a TV now where it only lights the individual lights now, so you get proper true black. So that Q one might have that technology. That's why
I
the
think so. I
blacks
think
might
that's
look
probably
better.
what QLED. I
Yeah.
don't know what QLED stands for.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that
Well, there
LED
was
is light
OLED.
emitting diode, isn't it? OLED, yeah.
OLED was organic light emitting diode.
Well, this
which
QLED
a
is
bit
this
better.
new thing now.
Yeah. So even with an LCD, you won't get the proper blacks because it's lit behind it, so it'll give a funny colour to it
Yeah.
anyway.
Well, I mean, I'm someone that's not really into visuals at all. What does it matter about it being really black? Like, as long as you know it
Well-
is pretty much black.
Well,
Like,
yeah,
why-
it's nice. It's nice in it to have that lovely like gradient of different blacks, so there's detail in there.
and see what's
Yeah.
actually true.
Yeah, but
in
why
real
does
life.
that matter? Because
Well, I
you're
think,
just watching a
it
program.
depends. It
and,
depends on the
like-
consumer, I think,
Yeah.
doesn't it? And
Yeah.
this comes back to the audio stuff. Is that like most people that consume music don't care.
Thing is, I love audio though, so for me,
For
it
sure,
matters.
but
Yeah.
you're a very small minority of people
Yes,
that like
yeah, yeah.
truly care. I mean, like one of the guys that I play in one of these bands, and he listens to it's called FLAC, fully lossless audio compression, and you have to have a certain media player to be able to play FLAC media, and like obviously like an iPhone is it's as thick as a pencil and all this stuff is like this big. FLAC player is like. You can't see what I'm doing, but it's like this big, which is probably I'm gonna go like 10 centimeters deep and then like 12.
Yeah,
Sandwich.
Yeah,
sandwich.
Basically, it's like a
Sandwiches
small
can be
lunchbox.
different.
A standard sandwich.
Okay, no, I'll tell you exactly how big
Two-ring
it is.
sandwich.
It's like the bottom piece of a 6-inch sub.
Yes.
Some
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
Okay, so it's about that big, and they weigh a ton, and they're horrible, and they don't look nice, and obviously they're not designed to be like a consumer item. They're just designed for like, I hate the term, but audiophiles. And he then has that, and he has a pair of in-ear monitors which are like molded to his ears, which is typical for musicians and live touring stuff. But he's got a pair that cost $2,000,
Jesus.
and they have 16 drivers in each ear, which like splits up all the audio frequencies into its own driver.
Wow.
So it's it's all like phase aligned. Blah, it's
He's like
ridiculous.
a robot of the future.
I mean, it's crazy, but he is adamant that that's like it's the best way of listening to music, and blah, 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 and he was like, you have to listen to it. So I obviously can't wear his ears because they're molded to his ears, but I have like a pretty nice pair of like noise cancelling Bose high end headphones or whatever, and I plug them in, and I am not ashamed to admit it, just not that different. Like, and he goes through all this trouble to have this stuff, and like there are things like you will hear like, but it's things that I would notice as a producer that an average listener just isn't going to notice.
Yeah.
Like it's certain types of reverb tails and stuff. I'm like, well, that's awesome. But like, I'm only like, that's awesome because I'm like, how did they do that? Or like, what are they doing there? Like I'm analysing it as an audio producer.
Yeah.
Whereas like, as a listener, like I've played records to my girlfriend who, likes good music and likes it when it's a good enough quality, but will just listen to whatever's on the radio, whatever. And like, never has she been like, oh, that's a good noise. What's that? Like about a reverb tail or something. She's just like, there was something I did with a band in here where it's something that I'd done a few times, but I'd never quite got right, which is basically where I put like what's called a contact microphone, which is just a tiny little microphone that sticks inside or like sticks on a wall or whatever. Put 2 of those inside a piano, and then put the sustain pedal on the piano down, and then just did all the vocals in there. And instead of using a reverb in the computer, I used those microphones as the reverb, because it meant that every time the singer hit a note, that note would resonate with the note in the piano, so the reverb would always be in tune with the vocal, if that makes sense, like more truly in tune than just a standard reverb. So I was doing that, and obviously like I took all the effort to do that and set that up and make it sound cool, and like to me it sounds absolutely amazing, and it's really like it's a really haunting kind of sound, because you almost can like hear like the wood of the piano, and like it is the sound of like if you had your head inside a piano, which is obviously like for someone that knows the in and outs of a piano and like has heard a piano a million times and whatever, like I know that that's how a piano sounds, and I knew that it would sound cool, so I tried it, played it to my girlfriend, and she was like, yeah, that's cool. And I was like, anything, and she was just like, well, it just sounds like a song. And I was like, oh great, don't worry about that. And then she was like, why is it a big deal? And I was like, because this is what I did. And she was like, well, you know that, but no one else is going to know that. And I was like, oh.
On the flip side, if you do something really terrible, people notice. So it has to be, we have to do it so it sounds like amazing to us.
Yeah.
And then
it's
it
like
just
normal.
converts down to normal for them.
It's all about
but
getting
you,
as much detail as possible and then converting it down to a package.
You
that
guys think
people
about
like.
it scientifically.
Well,
almost like
you say you're not about the visual. We went and watched Dunkirk, didn't we, in 65mm?
I love the sound.
And the sound as well. How it was all meant to be heard and
Did you
seen.
see it in an IMAX then?
Yeah, we had to go
So
to
jealous now.
where did we go again?
Sheffield.
Yeah, because that was the only place.
That had
To be honest, the visuals didn't look any different to me than a normal cinema. It was just the sound. The sound sounded amazing.
The sound was incredible.
Yeah.
Pierced, yeah.
Christopher Nolan's the one though.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Everything he does is amazing.
Well, have you watched Interstellar on Blu-ray or DVD or whatever?
I've
since
watched it.
the cinema?
No, I watched it in the cinema. But the thing is,
Well-
Christopher Nolan, apart from the Batman films, I don't like watching Christopher Nolan films like outside of a cinema setting, because
Yeah.
they're so intense,
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
makes me sound like such a douchebag. But like,
The sound's
so
incredible
good.
on Interstellar as well.
yeah, it is
But,
crazy.
when you on the Blu-ray that I've got, it switches between full screen and letterbox. So some shots that weren't shot on the IMAX camera were shot on a normal camera because they needed like a wider lens that they didn't have or something. Or they couldn't do it on the IMAX camera, so it switches between having a letterbox and not having a letterbox
On the
which
DVD
I find is
version.
a bit weird. Yeah,
that is very odd.
Yeah.
it's a bit distracting to me.
But
obviously
then,
in the
but
cinema,
then is
you
the
don't see
edit the
that.
same?
Yeah.
So they don't edit, like for an IMAX one, they don't edit it with only IMAX stuff.
Well, there's a couple of shots because Dunkirk switches between like 70mm, 65mm, and 35mm, I think. So I don't think you notice in the cinema though as much as you do on your TV.
What were
Those
they-
are so like.
Yeah, and your TV's got a definitive edge, so when part of that's blacked out, then you notice it a bit
Yeah.
more.
That
So-
screen was massive as well, so you'd have to look up like that for as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
What
Just
were the
gonna
cameras
blend
on the planes? Do you know?
They were
the same
the
ones.
same,
but they
strapped
got-
them on.
they-
Huge
No,
things.
but what do you know if they were 35mm,
70mm.
Because they were really good. I thought.
But they,
Okay, so really
the
good.
cinematographer invented a thing where he could only mount it like in a particular way, but it wasn't facing in the right direction. So he made like a periscope kind of
Oh,
thing.
yeah,
Like a
yeah,
lens
yeah.
like shot
to go
onto
round
the
the
that's
corner.
crazy.
Yeah, that's cool.
That is awesome.
But I love the shake as well because it was physically strapped to the.
Well,
Yeah.
that's
there
the
was
thing
no,
about-
there
that's
was
the thing about
no
Nolan, isn't it? Like, he
stabilization or
doesn't-
anything.
Nolan doesn't do anything unless it's like factually correct.
Yeah.
So he
That's
just
why
won't-
the sound in Interstellar is so amazing because it's not space, because obviously you can't hear it in space.
Well,
so
you can.
The rattle.
Can in Star
you can't.
Wars?
No. I mean, have you not heard the NASA sound of space? There's a
Oh,
whole
That's
album.
that's the
It's-
sound
yeah.
of space, but you can't hear a sound you create in space.
Yeah, well, yeah.
You can't. Could you hear a spacecraft jetting through?
I don't know.
You can't.
Because the
Can
only
you actually
sound in
not?
Interstellar is the
The
rattling
rattle of the
it.
engines or whatever.
And Brian Cox said that, so
Yeah, well,
you can't
no, I
argue
can't
with
argue with that. I'm not going to argue with him.
I mean, even
He's
Star,
my man crush.
even in Star Wars, when they blow up, they start to fall like they're coming out of the sky.
Yeah.
When it's like even
Yeah.
space,
Yeah,
there's no such thing as
It's not going to fall, is it?
air or
Gravity.
gravity and stuff.
But like you said about the cinema, like the seats are rattling
Yeah.
and everything as well. That's,
You get the full,
that's how it's so
full
amazing.
experience,
Yeah.
don't you? I mean, I hate those adverts at the beginning that's like, the cinema experience, and all this stuff. And I'm like, actually, to be fair, it is so much better. Like,
That's why I spent the same amount on my speakers as my TV, though.
yeah, but the thing is that, like, I think it's important. You know, I think
It's
if you-
50-50, isn't it?
But the thing is, if you genuinely care about something, anything, you know, whether it's stamp collecting or film or audio or anything, like if you genuinely care about it, then invest in the stuff that makes it the best that it can be. Like,
Yeah.
if it's something that really, you know, like on the
Grind-
absolute
well,
most
not grind.
basic terms, if it's the thing that makes you happy, why would you not do it in the best way so you're going to be as happy as you possibly could be from that thing?
Yeah.
Like,
That's it, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
whatever it is.
So that's why you want to watch Escape Sessions. 'cause
Yeah,
we're
anyway,
gonna
so
make
back
it as
to
best
Escape
as
Sessions.
possible. Why don't you tell us a bit about your studio? Because obviously, you haven't even said what your name of your studio is or anything to these people.
So my studio is called Phoenix Sound. It is in the centre of the earth, Mansfield.
In the core.
No, it's in Mansfield in Nottinghamshire, which is fine. That's all I'll say. It's pretty modest studio, I think. Anyway, like what I tried to do is when I set it up, I didn't want to ever like go outside my means. So, I have a degree in music production, but that goes so far as to. Yeah, I used a bunch of like large format mixing consoles and all
I
this
like
stuff.
the thought of you had one and they took it off you.
Yeah, you can't have that anymore.
They heard what I did recently.
Yeah.
They took it off me.
Someone looked at my studio and were like, no, take that back. And it was a case of I didn't want to buy a bunch of stuff that I hadn't had the experience with, and I wasn't overly familiar with and stuff. And the last thing you want to do is spend loads of money on stuff that you kind of just aren't going to get the full use out of. And so I kind of set it up in a fairly modest way. I had like some units that I knew well, and I knew the sort of way they behaved fairly well, and then got absolutely like knew them like the back of my hand kind of thing, and then was like, right, okay, now what? And then I'd find something new, and that's kind of the way it's been, and it still is the way it goes now. Like I've on a daily or weekly or monthly or whatever it might be, or like by job, I'll do a band and I'll kind of be like, actually, I really wish I'd been able to do this analog instead of digital. And then, I'll look into purchasing that unit, whatever it might, or something similar that allows me to do that. And, naturally that's why things have expanded and my amplifier range has expanded and my stuff on my computer has and everything else has, but none of it's like crazy. I don't have anything that's like, oh God, super high end, like that guy must have spent £1 million billion on that. Like, I have stuff that works for me and it works in this studio, and as long as I know it, then I feel comfortable with it. The last thing I want is for people to come in and be like, "Oh, I see you've got whatever it might be. Let's use that," and me be like, "Oh, I've never used that before.
Crap!
I know it looks cool, but I don't really know how to do it." You know, so I try and keep it as kind of modest as I can, with it still being like good enough to produce release quality audio. And I'd say, like, I mean, even from day one was a funny one. We were still building this studio on the day that I had the first band in.
When you mean building, what did you have done? Was it this window you had in? The door and stuff. Was this a wall here?
No. So the wall was built, and we built the window ourselves, and we built the door ourselves, and then put the floor in ourselves. Like, you can't see it on a podcast.
No.
If you go,
this is description. Time for description.
Go to Sherwood Phoenix. No, that's wrong. Phoenix Sound Studios. Let me start again. If you go to phoenixsoundstudios.co.uk, and if you go to the recent projects tab, there's a whole story, like blog post, about the fabrication of this studio from what it was to what it is, or what it became in 2016.
We can link in the show notes.
Definitely worth it.
Check the link.
It's it shows you everything from like what this room, because it was originally one room, used to be, to what it has become, and obviously now it's even more so sort of kitted out than it was then. But it used to just be one L-shaped room. There was no floor; it was just a concrete floor, and it was a very nice avocado green throughout.
Oh wow!
Oh yeah, I know. And now looking back on it, I feel like an idiot. And so, first things first was to separate it into two rooms, because you can't really record,
of course,
not with the separation. So we put up. I designed and.
Is there something special about the wall? Has it got special?
Yeah, so
sound
it's a foot and a half thick.
Yeah,
it is very thick.
It is a thick wall. It's so it's your standard stud in the middle, which is obviously just a pretty kind of crappy wool.
Yeah.
And then that's filled with rock wool, which is the highest density wool that you... Rock wool comes in all densities, but we got the highest per metre, like square metre or whatever. So there's that, which is filled in right in the middle of the studs. Then there's acoustic, like high density plasterboard. And this is... I should mention that from the stud, this is the same on both sides going outwards.
Going outwards,
So rock wool, plasterboard... Then there's like that eggshell acoustic panelling, which I'm pointing to at the moment, but you can't actually see. That's in there on both sides.
Yeah.
Then there's like maybe some really, really high density polystyrene. Then there's a sheet of what is essentially, it's rubber, but it's like the highest density rubber you can get. It's as like heavy as like lifting a roll of lead. It's pretty bad. And then that's on both sides as well. And then there's two sheets of acoustic plasterboard, and then there's plaster.
It's basically a
I'd
sound
imagine it being
engineer's
thicker,
like
with all those layers.
heavenly sandwich.
Essentially, yeah. And then the door is manufactured in exactly the same way, but the external parts are wood. So
I'll explain how heavy it is then.
Yeah, right. So it has. Well, in fact, well, you can see it when you leave, but that you'll see that you can see the sort of like rubber lead stuff poking out the sides. But so it's the same thing. It's basically a cavity which has got the rock wool in it, and then it's got some of the other bits and pieces, and then it's got the lead stuff. So that was not there. So we built that. The door we manufactured ourselves. That was Paul, who works in the shop next door, his design and his handiwork. That's entirely him. I give him credit. The window, we looked at getting one actually made by an acoustician's like company. And they basically start for custom built at about £1,000. Ours cost £40.
Wow!
Which was the price of the 2 panels of triple glazing. So we have a guy that basically, my studio is within a warehouse building, and the rest of the warehouse was glazed by this one company. So they basically cut the guys a ridiculously good deal on any glass now.
Yeah.
So when we asked for that size, the guy was just like, "Yeah, you can have it for £40 for the 2 units."
Well good, isn't it?
And he made them that day and handed them to us pretty much like there and then. And then we just did the rest ourselves. I mean, it's probably the most soundproof part of the wall, which is crazy.
Really?
Yeah. We've held like a decibel meter up like across the wall, but then got to the window and it literally drops by like a further 10 dB. Bizarre.
Wow. Well, I guess it's a good like absorber of sound in it because of the vibe I get.
Well,
I don't know how it
there's
works.
an air in the middle which obviously
Yes.
can't move past the windows.
Okay.
So once it
Yeah,
hits
yeah,
that, that's kind of it. It just stops dead. So yeah, we built the wall, built that. Then I laid all the floor twice because we got flooded within the first 3 months of me opening. So
Jesus.
laid that twice, and then painted everything. And I built all of the acoustic paneling myself because again, per panel, like a 1 by 1 meter square panel of acoustic foam costs about £80. So I just built them.
Built
It
yourself,
cost me about £7 a go.
Nice.
I find it interesting how it's just in specific spots. So, like, is it where the sound's likely to bounce off?
Yeah,
or is
so
it something?
normally your traditional, that one is positioned where it kind of should be. Normally that would be slightly lower, but I found that it didn't need to be. The way it normally works is that you want to stop your like what are called early reflections. So that speaker on my right when I'm facing the computer obviously points to that wall.
Yeah.
So you want to catch the sound as it hits the wall,
Yeah.
so it absorbs it there, so that you don't get like harsh reflections coming
Yeah.
back. And it
You
should
have like corner things. You got one corner.
Yeah, so there's one up there. There used to be one up there, but it's fallen down. But actually, the difference it made when it fell down was none. So I just haven't put it back up. And then there was one up there where you can see that, and the same thing
Yeah.
happened up there. And again, the difference it made was none.
No.
So, but those two are there to catch, basically to catch reflections coming straight off the back wall.
Yeah.
And then these ones, because of the way the wall is manufactured, it had like quite a weird. It's called a flutter echo, but flutter echoes normally come from like up in the corners, but for whatever reason, it was coming off that wall.
Oh, okay.
So those two are placed basically where
Could be something to do with the beam.
Yeah, well,
or something.
I can't really figure it out,
But,
but
yeah.
I've managed to stop it. The way I did it was just I played sound through my speakers and then stuck my head up against the wall, and the minute that it got really horrible, that's where I stuck the pads.
Oh, right.
I feel like that top bit should probably be doing something good.
This, yeah, that's my cloud.
It's very important.
It looks important.
Yeah, no, it's a 8 foot by 6 foot cloud,
Wow.
which I have basically because the ceilings are so high and because it's a brick room, the sound just bounces everywhere. And essentially the biggest thing I found was that to be fair, that's doing most of the like dampening of the
Yeah.
acoustics anyway. One, obviously because of the size, but two, just because it's not hitting the concrete wall and the concrete ceiling and coming back down. So before it even gets to the ceiling, it's taken away. So yeah, I mean that does quite a lot. I never really thought it would, but it definitely did.
It's huge.
Can you tell the listeners a bit about your tea and coffee making facilities?
Oh mate, I've got a quality tea. Well, it's expanded as well. I've got a cafetiere now. Did you notice that?
What? Where?
Right there, mate.
Oh my god! What?
Yeah. I haven't got legit coffee yet. So
Oh.
I was going to say, like, I had a coffee today. Why?
And I'm
why
really
on
sorry.
these?
Well, I stopped in Sainsbury's to get my lunch the other day, and they were on sale for £3.50 instead of like 15. So I was like, well, I'm obviously going to get one
Yeah,
of that.
can't
I don't
say
even
no.
drink coffee, but people love it. So
It looks posh.
well, yeah, exactly. You know, I don't have one of those stupid coffee makers, so I just have to get something that looks kind of posh. No, my tea and coffee making facilities is it's fairly important.
It's what people want to know about. Isn't
And
it?
you
is
got a
really.
microwave? Got a microwave?
Yeah, I got a microwave straight out of the 80s as well, so I
Yeah.
stuck some stickers on it.
Yeah.
Oh,
So the tea and coffee started off as a single mug and some really ropey like PG tips. And then I found out that one of the guys in the shop has a Costco membership.
Oh wow.
And they sell those like 700
Yeah.
tea bags for like £7.
Jesus.
So I obviously just was like, can you get me one of them? And he was like, yeah. So we're on Yorkshire tea. Just so if anyone wants to come and record, know that
Can't beat Yorkshire.
Yorkshire tea and a zero instant coffee, which I'm told for instant coffee is kind of some of the best.
Is it hard water or soft water? This is
It's
very
hard
important.
water.
Hard
yeah,
water.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So I get the hard water tea bags.
That's what you need. Yeah.
We're on the cusp of Yorkshire as well, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm keeping it local.
Yeah. Local produce.
Yeah. So it's just expanded. I got a nice little IKEA shelf for all my mugs, and I
You
decided.
enjoy the alphabet as well?
Well, no. If you actually spell it out, it does say Phoenix.
Really?
Oh.
Oh, clever.
Special.
I went into Wilkinson to buy
The
myself a
detail.
soldering iron because I had to fix some of my cables, and it was just after Christmas, and they had like everything on sale, and I walked past and they were 50p a mug. I was
Oh,
like,
wow,
can't
yeah.
go wrong.
No.
So I bought it, and then annoyingly was going to get the whole Phoenix sound, but they had run out of O's. So it would have been Phoenix Sun, and I just didn't kind of work.
If you
so
smash one though,
well, yeah, well, I
it's
know.
gonna just ruin
Going to
it.
say something on. So yeah, it goes up. But I also, I've got all the things. I've got all your Twinings flavours.
Yeah,
I've got your
I
mint.
noticed
I've got
that,
your
yeah.
raspberry and something.
Yeah.
lemon
Any
and ginger.
vocal tea, or is that what
I've
Vocus bring?
just put my order in for
Ooh.
new vocal tea.
There you go.
A little plug for my friend, Dr. Vox tea. Genuinely, actually good, and it doesn't taste like gross. It's quite nice.
Oh, no.
Quite
so
a
if
lovely
you're-
beverage.
If you're a singer or a public speaker, Dr. Vox.
Dr. Vox tea.
Very good. All hand distributed from the old London.
Oh wow.
Yeah, big
That's
boys,
cool.
mate.
Yeah, very big.
Where's London?
What?
What city's it close to?
London.
Londinian.
yeah.
All right then. Yeah.
London.
Close- close to Essex.
Quite close to London.
Yeah, up there then.
Yeah, over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're doing a handstand, it's up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of any city that it's close to that's even notable.
Reading.
Oh,
Possibly.
yeah, okay.
Bath.
Not close to Bath.
It looks like on the map.
No, it doesn't.
It's like 2 centimeters away.
Oh, yeah, on the smallest map ever.
It's close to Cambridge.
Where
Yeah.
Did you say Cambridge?
Yeah, it's close to Cambridge.
What's your opinion on where you say is you're going up north or down south, and
That's it.
Yeah.
But where is
Well, if you're going south from where you are, you're going down.
Yeah.
And if you're going
Well-
up from where you are, you're going north.
what was the thing that you
Like if someone's... So I'm from Hampshire originally, and if someone says, oh, I'm going up to Hampshire, I'd be like, well, you're not, are you? You're
Yeah,
like from
you're south.
Nottingham.
there's
Yeah.
like a
You're obviously
cut
not.
off. The,
We've had this before.
Are you talking about the north-south divide, though?
yeah,
Because I've had
Yeah.
this conversation a lot.
Yeah.
It is not where you expect it to be.
Where
it's
is it?
interesting. It
So
goes
it starts in basically in Gloucester, like Bath.
like Worcester or
So
something.
I'm going to hold up this. This is,
Yeah,
this is the
that's-
sort of bottom of the UK,
Yeah.
right? And if Oxford is like here and Bath is kind of here, it literally goes like over that, and then like sort of does a little whoop up here.
Ah, so we
There
are.
it
So
goes
north.
there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a
This
lot
is
in the
north
north
now,
and-
isn't
yeah,
it?
we're in the north.
So the southern part is tiny.
Yeah, it's not
Just
very
a little
big.
sliver.
Yeah.
and it kind of goes around the edge of Lincolnshire.
Yeah.
So you get like Scunthorpe is north.
Yeah.
And then but it's still.
But that's
Lincolnshire.
the little like bit that the
Yeah.
little like where it goes up very quickly, as if it was a graph. That bit.
Maybe
is-
someone sneezed on there, didn't it?
yeah, it was quite bizarre because there's obviously some
That'll
stuff
do.
that you definitely, if someone was like, oh, like this place, and you definitely consider it north, then actually it's technically it's in the south.
Wow.
What do you think about Midlands, though?
What about it?
Well,
Is it
like,
big?
why is there not South, Midlands, North?
Oh, it's the forgotten section.
It's like
Also,
no man's land.
if we be honest, the Midlands spans a lot, doesn't it? Really,
It's the biggest part, isn't it?
Yeah, easily. You've got all of the west, like Birmingham and all that kind of stuff, and Worcester, and then you've got like Nottinghamshire, which is a big old county.
I think Lincolnshire is the second biggest county.
Well, yeah,
as well.
and that's
Yeah.
Midlands, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then Leicestershire's pretty
Basically,
big, that's
Scotland
Midlands.
is North, London is South, everything else Midlands.
Well, I mean, it may as well be. Yeah. Yeah.
Newcastle though is northern. You've got to say Newcastle.
I think if it's touching the Scottish border,
Just giving it a little
It's
little
north.
stroke.
so Northumbria,
Borderline.
that's north.
Yeah,
because it's
it's
on
gotta
the
be.
Scottish border.
It's got north in the name.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. My dad's from there as well, and he is certain it's the north. Yeah, he's a Geordie through and through.
No.
But my mum wouldn't get married to him unless he dropped the accent. There's a little bit of trivia
Wow.
for you. I know. My mum is posh. Like, really posh.
That is a harsh
I know.
thing, isn't it?
Where does that leave you then? Do you go in and out of kind of posh and northern?
No, because obviously when I was born, my dad
Lost his
didn't
accent.
have
like
the
that.
accent.
Dropped
Wait,
it,
does he
so-
does he though go off to like the pub or somewhere and then like
Get it-
No,
sneakily
but
does
if you get him pissed and then tell him to do it, it's quite
comes
fun.
out.
Like it's like someone that can do a really good accent, like an
Yeah.
impression of someone, and I'm like, no, that is your accent. So you've just hidden it.
He has to put on a voice now for his whole
Well,
life.
yeah, basically, that's kind of it. Like it's crazy, but yeah, like when he was growing up, all of his friends were Geordies, and he was obviously a Geordie lad, and then met my mum, and then that was that. And she was like, "Oh no, we absolutely can't have that."
She must be a good one though. If he's
I mean, she's my mum. So I think she's pretty cool. But,
Yeah.
I wouldn't. Not girlfriend material because she's my mum. But my dad seems to like her. They've been married for like 40-something years, so fair enough.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Cool. Right,
We
we've
should
got
probably
off.
actually. When is the escape session coming out? What's the first one? Let's do that. Let's
Yeah,
wrap
so we're going
18th.
off tangent. 18th of
18th
Feb.
of Feb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which we are releasing this on the 13th of Feb. Ready.
So that's
for
when
it.
this podcast comes out, right?
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Or we do it 2 weeks before, or well, it's gonna be
The key is
A week before.
or less.
the first
A week
session
or-
is on the 18th of February.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is probably in a few days when you're listening to this.
There you go.
So when did you start these escape sessions? How long?
We've
have you been
already
doing
done that.
No, but
right
I
at the
forgot. I
start.
forgot.
We did the history. Well, you just rewind.
Why, are you talking about the new ones or the old ones?
The old ones. When did you actually start? What year was it? Do you remember?
What was it? 4 years.
It's probably 4 years
2007.
ago.
No, wait, 2007. No, 2010.
4 years ago.
No, 2010, weren't it?
No, because that's 8 years ago, 7 years ago.
I can't remember.
I reckon it's like
2014.
I'll get YouTube up and I'll tell
I
you.
reckon it's like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
4 years ago.
So it's got a longish history.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
We're up to when we release the next
Because
one.
you've already got videos out. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be number 48.
So yeah, check out the other videos and then realise the next videos.
Yeah. Look through the actual catalogue.
Yeah,
Like,
like, get,
go
your,
from,
get your
like-
history.
Get
Like,
your
going
history,
through- I was going to say an encyclopedia, but that's probably not the right book.
But what do we see the future of escape sessions? What is that ultimate goal? 3 years ago.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah,
Do you, have
2007.
do you have an exact date when we release the first one?
I could click it and then it'll tell me.
Yeah, do it.
You might
What's your
hear some
ultimate goal
noise.
for the escape sessions? What's he's finding that then?
I'd like for it to be a place on YouTube where people can come and listen to good music and discover discover artists that they've not known about
Unsigned
before.
artists.
Not
Anybody,
necessarily,
really, to be honest.
Yeah, just
anyone,
anyone.
Yeah.
anyone that's good, basically.
And we got some nice people. We say it was. How do you call it? Not sponsor. Like, what would you say?
So we're
Endorsed.
getting support
Yeah,
from
support or endorsements or whatever. We've got some pretty good companies on board. So, got Audient Engineering, who are a British pro audio company, and Aston Microphones, who are a British microphone company.
Oh, cool.
And then I'll let you guys cover what you've got on board because
We've also got a company that make the cage that you see on our camera there.
Yeah, you can see it.
Yeah, that's
Everyone can see it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone in this
If we-
room.
Well, you can see it by looking at other things that we've done.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
other video would you look at?
You could look at
The review we
the
did
review.
on the cage.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably the best video
Yeah,
to
that
go
is.
for, really.
yeah,
On Escape Everything Studios,
Yes,
though,
yeah,
not
yeah.
Escape Sessions.
yeah.
16th of July, 2014.
Oh, nice.
That's our
Yeah.
first video. So that's the birthday.
Yeah. So
What we're going to do for the birthday?
Just do another one, isn't it?
We'll just do one, that'll do.
Do the exact same video.
Yeah, just get the guy back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole lot.
Just go do that.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, is that the one at the lake? I don't want to go back to the lake.
No, no.
One in the field.
That
It's in
was
the field in my
the field,
village.
the field.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's 5 minutes walk from Ant's house. So
Yeah.
quite ideal for him. Where do you see us being in a little while time, Hamish?
In a little while time.
Yeah, tomorrow.
I didn't want to pressurise you into
Oh, no,
a
it's
particular
fine.
date. You might have
in
felt pressured and intimidated then.
2025.
Oh, okay, well, let me see. Probably not dissimilar to, I guess, I suppose what I want to do is, I guess, like have some, what I'd like, actually, this is probably a better way of putting it, is that some of the bands that we have worked with at this point, I'm going to say early days because it's like a refreshed version,
Yeah.
not your early days, but like, since I got on board, some of the bands that we've worked with from the early days, like, I'd like to see them in a higher position as a band, having us and them had the opportunity to do these sessions, like whether or not that was part of what propelled them,
Yeah.
or
But
That
kind
would
of
be
like
cool.
growing all
yeah,
together.
like kind of everybody sort of
Yeah.
growing up together and kind of continuing to do that. You know, like being a part of a growing process for any new band, or you know, or even a band that's like semi-established. You know,
Yeah.
like being part of that process and
Well, I'd
in
like-
some way feeling like we maybe facilitated like a part of that.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
I'd like for them
definitely.
to feel like kind of proud of the session that they've done
Yeah.
with us and happy that they've been involved. I don't necessarily want it to just be just a video and it stops there.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. It's like a community kind of thing. So yeah, if in like if a year time and they've got touring with bigger bands and stuff, they were able to come back and record something else, and
For sure.
like you get that growth and everything. That'd be quite a cool
I like
thing.
the idea of doing a little mini festival kind of thing as well as a future thing.
With
Like,
the
with all
bands
the
that we've
bands
done,
we've
yeah.
done, like a nice kind of community thing, but
And
not
the viewers.
just music, like art and other things
Yeah.
that people get involved, because there's so many things
Isn't
you can get
there-
involved in it. 'Cause it's
There's a
big.
festival in Grantham, isn't there?
There's many
You
festivals
could-
everywhere.
No, but there's a specific music festival. Is it Grantham or Newark? Like
It's Grantham. I can't remember the name of it now. There's a couple, I think.
that you could possibly do.
Well, we want to make our own.
Oh,
Make our
okay.
own Escape
See,
Sessions
I get
festival.
It. Yes.
yeah.
Or
He's saying we. He's not discussed that with us.
No.
He might have discussed it with Adam, but it's the first time hearing it.
I mean, it's not a definite. It's just something that's it's quite a cool
No, it's
idea.
definitely a
I think.
cool idea.
Yeah.
but on the basis of that, we've got the audience that want to see
Of
the
course,
bands,
yeah.
and we've got the bands that can play the
Yeah.
gigs, and
And they'll want to.
it fits together.
Yeah.
Or
that's
it'd
the
just
thing.
be us four in a field. yeah.
To
Just
no
a
one.
small
Yeah.
party.
Playing a CD.
Yeah.
But not
No
not,
spoons.
not Simon, because he's not bothered about the visuals.
No, I've got,
Oh, yeah.
I've got no visual. Like I don't give a shit about that.
I showed one of our sessions to someone once, which is probably a good thing to end it on, maybe. And
Once.
they loaded it up and everything, watched like the first 5 seconds, and then like minimized it and thought, and that was how they wanted to enjoy it.
There you go.
Yeah, that's like me.
So-
Was it me?
No, we forced you to watch it. But Escape Sessions, you can enjoy it just as good without the video. That's the advert.
Ding.
Do you want to talk about anything that you've been watching or listening to? Is this a music-based thing? And then we'll end it.
I'll give a recommendation.
Go on then.
Yes, do.
Go and listen to the Excerpt's new album. It's called Hold On To Your Heart. It's very good. It's on all your regular platforms. Cassette tape, vinyl,
Wow.
and CD.
Wow,
Cassette
lovely.
would be a proper thing because like not many people listen to that anymore.
I still got an old cassette player, and I really want a cassette to play in it.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, turn back
Get Hold
time.
On To Your Heart
I
by
might
the
have to do
Excerpts.
that. Yeah.
Right.
How's my playlist going?
It's pretty good, actually. We're getting there.
Yeah.
In fact, quite a lot of that's just gone on it. So
Oh, nice!
there
I
you
can't
go.
wait then.
My first car had a cassette player.
Yeah.
But the only thing worse than having a cassette player and not a CD or Bluetooth or anything is that it didn't work. So I couldn't even listen to
Well, the
it.
cassette player didn't work.
Yeah.
At all.
No, yeah, it just didn't work at all. I had an amazing cassette. the
Maybe it
best
weren't plugged
cassette.
in.
Maybe, but I think
You
I
sure it
checked
wasn't a
that.
drawing?
Yeah.
Someone scribbled.
I can't even put the cassette in.
Yeah. yeah.
It's so broken. It's just a drawing.
I had the best cassette ever, which was like American 80s rock.
Oh,
No, that's
that does
cool.
sound cool.
Well, if you're into that, then you'll definitely be into the new Excerpts record because
Oh, really?
it's very like kind of Tom Petty meets Bruce Springsteen
Oh, cool.
meets kind of Gaslight Anthem, sort of that kind of thing. So you'd be into it.
Oh, nice.
The Gaslight Anthem guy's coming to Nottingham this week, I think.
But just on his his like side project thing.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. I forget you're a Gaslight Anthem guy, aren't you? Aren't you?
I am, but I don't know whether I've ever told you before.
I thought we had spoken about this.
Maybe.
Oh,
Maybe
yes.
you give off the vibe.
Yeah. Just look at him, mate. He's so Gaslight Anthem.
I'm not a massive, I'm an average fan of theirs, I'd say. But yeah.
There you
Yeah,
go.
I don't think I've got nothing to tell.
But
No
by
visuals. No
by the time we
anything.
release this,
Yeah.
the Dangerous Summers new album will be out
Yes, it will.
tomorrow as we're recording this. But that
Which is
doesn't make
what?
sense.
26?
26th. Yeah.
There you go.
So that'll be good.
So go back in time and enjoy the day of its release.
Yeah. Simon,
Awesome.
anything?
I listened to Nirvana's "With the Lights Out." Like it's quite old now, but it's like their compilation of their unknown songs and their best of. It's
Well,
pretty
that's
good.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
I've not even heard of that. I might have to check that out.
There's some really good songs on it. Yeah.
Well, actually, I've been listening to a band called Pale Waves. Am I saying that
So
right?
good. Pale
I
Waves.
love
yeah.
them.
They're like kind of
'cause-
1975
Yeah,
esque.
but female version,
Yeah.
and I'm obsessed with her voice.
Oh, okay.
Have you seen her?
Yeah, she's well fit.
Yeah, but she's also just not what I'd expect.
Really?
Well, she's like a total goth.
Yeah, I know, but that's 1975 kind of vibe as well, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, but
Yeah.
it was. I was taken aback. But yeah, they are very good. I agree with that.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I
check
don't know.
them
I
out.
love the sound, so I've been getting into them.
I
quite a
hear
lot.
that from your room every day.
Yeah,
That-
I'm a bit obsessed with the music at the moment.
Yeah,
But I
very
do
obsessed.
like the 1975, so
Oh, there you
it's
go.
cool.
I have been watching a series called Easy that I mentioned to you guys on the way here. Have you seen it, Hamish?
No.
It's on Netflix, and that inspired me to check out the music from one of the director's old films, which is really good, which is stuff that I've never heard of. I don't know anything about the people that are singing on it or the bands or anything.
But you
I think
know
it's-
who they are?
No, I don't even know who
You don't
they
even
are.
know who they are, okay.
No, they're like people that you might have heard of them, but they're like his films are set in Chicago mainly, so they're like indie Chicago rock scene people, and
Is it easy
It's
as
really
in
good.
E and a Z, or is it easy as in the word?
yeah, Easy the word.
Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, it's good, but yeah, you won't have heard of any of the people on it, but they're good films. They're good. Well, that's a series, but
Check them out, you're saying then, yeah?
the director is called Joe Swanberg, and he makes little lo-fi indie relationship type films. It's good.
Nice.
Brilliant.
The film that I'm listening to the thing from is called Drinking Buddies.
There you go.
So
Awesome.
featuring hits like Lady Luck by Richard Swift,
Nope, not heard of him.
High School Lover by Keukus,
Nope.
Rubble Bucket,
Oh yeah, Rubble Bucket's my favourite.
Yeah. It sounds quite cool, Rubber Bucket.
Foxygen.
Also
Oh,
no.
that's like oxygen with foxes.
Yeah.
Foxygen.
The smell of a fox.
The Amazing.
Are these
It's
band
just
names or
amazing.
song names?
Band name.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's hard
right.
to know, isn't it?
Night Beds.
No.
Barner Howard.
Nope.
Here We Go Magic.
No.
And Plants and Animals.
No. But I do like all of those names.
Well, you might like their music.
Well, there we go.
Although it's no guarantee.
No.
Won't put your sign of guarantee on it.
No, you won't stamp it.
Well, I'm saying there's no guarantee that you'll like it solely based on the word.
Yeah,
Of the
well, yeah,
title.
that's fair enough. Yeah.
Brilliant. I think that's about it then, is
Isn't
it?
it?
Yeah.
Cool. Right.
Watch
sign us
Escape
off, Adam.
Sessions now or in the future when it happens.
Well, we can't do it now. It's out on the 18th, mate.
Watch Escape Sessions on the 18th.
Yeah, but people might be listening to it like whenever.
First
also-
band
Let's.
sick.
Okay. If you're watching it on the day of we release this, wait until the 18th, obviously, to listen to them. If it's, I don't know, 2082 and you're listening to this, go and check them out now.
And
Yeah.
also, watch the backlog. Like, 'cause you've got loads of other films. that
Yeah,
you've done.
watch a few of them.
Yeah.
See what you
Watch
think.
them all.
Watch the new one first, though, probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
watch the new one first, but then go back and
Yeah.
watch the
So
old
go on a
ones and
journey
stuff.
with us
Yeah.
Journey through time and space.
to the world of the Mighty Boosh. No?
I didn't watch the Mighty Boosh.
Oh, let's end it there
I
then.
did.
Yeah.
But yeah. Cheers for listening and yeah, see you guys later.
Bye.
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 Bye.